How about a Coppola quick facts?
I'll start with the one we've been teasing. In June 2008, interview with The Guardian, Abel Ferrara, who directed and co-wrote the original Bad Lieutenant, said that finding out his movie was being remade was a horrible feeling, like when you get robbed, and that those involved in this remake should all die in hell. I didn't include it in here, but he was like, I wish everybody involved in it were in a streetcar at the same time and it blew up. I'm like, okay.
Well, he's
Tell us how you really feel.
You're why this country's gone to shit.
You have values.
Abel Ferrara in a room with Werner Herzog, putting a gun to his head. You piece of shit! I'm gonna fucking kill you. He also wondered how Nicolas Cage can even have the nerve to play Harvey Keitel, and called screenwriter William N. Finkelstein an idiot. Herzog responded that he had never seen the original and had never heard of Ferrara.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Like, if you're going to make a movie and call it the same name as the other movie, maybe you should watch the movie. I don't know. But, you know, obviously, he's not playing Harvey Keitel's character. He's playing a completely different thing. I don't even know why they called it Bad Lieutenant. I guess we'll get there. In 2018, at the Newcastle International Film Festival, Ferrara said that he had finally met Herzog years after the release of the remake and made peace with him, something Herzog had wanted to do since hearing about Ferrara's outrage. I don't imagine what that conversation was like.
Yeah.
I heard you didn't like my film. You should die in hell, you fucker.
Although the film know who you are.
Never heard of you before. You made my film. I don't know. Although the film was promoted as a remake of Bad Lieutenant during its early production, director Werner Herzog claims that this is not a remake. He says he has never seen the original and therefore does not consider this movie a remake. Additionally, producers seem to have added Bad Lieutenant to the title in order to get better marketing. Whether remake, reimagining, follow-up, or none of the aforementioned, movies are clearly connected by the same basic plot and following a drug-addicted, violent cop during his encounters with crime and sex. I mean, I think we'll get into it, but it was supposed to just be called Port of Call, New Orleans.
Yeah.
Which
Sounds
makes
like the
sense.
studio saw that and was like, hey, this is like Bad Lieutenant.
It's produced by the same people who produced the original Bad Lieutenant. According to Herzog, Bad Lieutenant was the title of the original draft screenplay Finkelstein submitted to him. The screenwriter was familiar with the 1992 Abel Ferrara version, but it was only after he gave Herzog a solemn oath that this would not be a remake that Herzog agreed to become involved. Never liking the title Bad Lieutenant and not wanting to confuse the audience, Herzog insisted on renaming the film Port of Call, New Orleans. However, producer Edward R. Pressman, who had also produced Ferrara's cult classic, wanted to market the film with the same title. Ultimately, Herzog compromised by agreeing to the combined titles together, Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans. Seems unnecessary to me to call this movie is not Bad Lieutenant in the slightest. Bad Lieutenant is so dark and so messed up, and this thing is almost like a comedy compared to that, you know? Mm-hmm. It's like I read I had seen American Psycho when I was a kid, and then I read the book later on, and the movie is like a frickin' comedy compared to the book. The book is so dark, and like there's so much more evil stuff that goes on. I can kind of see where he was coming from. The movie was originally set in New York, just like the original Bad Lieutenant, but Nicolas Cage changed the setting to New Orleans to help them after the hurricane. He's apparently a big fan of New Orleans, and he said he was actually scared going to New Orleans, and I think it was because New Orleans is where he kind of faced his demons and ended up going clean, and he had been clean for the most part, I believe, ever since leaving New Orleans, so he was a little scared to come back. Nicolas Cage claims that he was never under the influence of anything throughout the filming, in contrast to leaving Las Vegas, in which he got genuinely drunk to play an alcoholic. At what point is it like you're rewarding people for not actually acting anymore? It's like he's just straight up drunk.
I think he also said I watched that, like, Nicolas Cage breaks down his iconic roles video, which I'm sure you've seen, but he talks about that. Like, in Leaving Las Vegas, they had, like, some other guy who was, like, a consultant on how to act like an alcoholic or something, and he worked with that guy as well. So I guess he had a drunk consultant and got genuinely drunk.
Yeah. I don't know if he did it for every scene, but I feel like he did. He got a little bit drunk for everything. I watched Joe, and there's a scene where he is just snockered on beer, and it feels so genuine that I'm like, I'm pretty positive he was actually drunk. It's like the most realistic drunk I've ever seen on screen. So I think he might have actually been drunk for that. Nicolas Cage ad-libbed and created much of his dialogue, actions, antics, and mannerisms in the movie, to the initial consternation of Finkelstein, the writer of the shooting script, but to the glee of Werner Herzog.
Do it again.
Well, I'll get to some of the scenes where he just made up his whole part. But some of them are the best scenes in the entire movie.
Yeah.
Finkelstein later relented, realizing the genius at work with Cage as well as Herzog, and loved the finished film. So things were a little different in the shooting script than they were in the actual movie.
Yeah.
During filming, Nicolas Cage asked the entire set for silence to make a declaration. Once the set had gone silent, Cage pointed to Werner Herzog and proclaimed, "Finally, someone who knows what he is doing." This was in reference to Herzog's method of only filming camera setups that he intended to use in the final film, as opposed to shooting extra setups that he might not even use in the final film. Like coverage and potentially making a film that flows better because of having multiple takes and multiple shots.
Yeah. I got that. I mean, there was a lot of single take shots in this.
There were,
I actually liked that a lot about the movie. It felt different from a lot of movies that you see, which, I mean, that's what that was. And Nicolas Cage appreciated that, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm always one of those guys who's kind of like, well, if we're already set up, just throw another camera in there just in case, like, we don't like this angle, I want to go with something else. But at the same time, it's like, that's why you hire a DP, is you're setting up for one specific shot and not setting up tons of shots. I'm assuming that Nick Cage really likes that because he only has to play to one camera, he only has to play to one performance, and also it's faster. It's a hell of a lot faster because you don't have to set up 100 different things. Yeah,
or do multiple takes. Maybe like, maybe this looks different if you do it from this angle, or do it with that in mind. And he's just like, as an actor, I can see how he might just want to be like, no, I just want to do the scene. Like, just let me get in character and do it like the character would do it.
Yeah, I think from like a stage performance style, this works a lot better for actors. And also, you can get yourself up. You can get yourself up for that one scene. And not have to like worry about like, I got to get myself crazy on crack again here in a few minutes or in 2-3 hours once we set up the next shot. Both Bad Lieutenant and this film were released on November 20th, 1992 and 2009 respectively. So another thing, it's like, you're really, really not selling the fact that you didn't mean to make this a remake. Nicolas Cage and Werner Herzog have strong connections with F.W. Murnau's, I'm sure that's wrong, Murnau's Nosferatu. Cage's performance in Vampire's Kiss was heavily influenced by Max Schreck's in Nosferatu, and Cage's company Saturn Films went on to produce a movie about the making of Nosferatu called Shadow of the Vampire with Willem Dafoe. which I haven't seen, but I really want to watch it.
I watched it as a kid because my dad really liked it. And I was like, I guess my dad likes Nosferatu a lot. He loves those old horror movies. So I think he really liked it for that. But now I want to see it again as an adult. Like having seen Nosferatu and appreciating Willem Dafoe and was it, I think, John Malkovich is in it too.
Herzog actually directed a remake of Nosferatu with Klaus Kinski called Nosferatu the Vampire in 1979, which I haven't seen, but I also really want to see that movie. Werner Herzog's take on Nosferatu is going to be fascinating. Suddenly, there's just a bunch of iguana close-ups and
shot with GoPros.
with the GoPro. According to director Werner Herzog and Paul Cronin's interview book, some of the most talked about scenes and images in the film were not in the original screenplay by William M. Finkelstein and added by Herzog in pre-production or sometimes on the spot. This includes the ideas for the scenes at the beginning and end of the film with the aquarium, the dancing soul scene, which I have some things to say about, the inclusion of the iguanas, which I also have some things to say about, and the alligator lying on the highway run over, McDonagh's monologue with the silver spoon, and the scene where he brings it to his girlfriend. Their relationship was originally mostly drug-related and sexual, not as romantic as in the final film, which kind of comes across that was what the original intention was here and there, but like they really play up the romance of this crack-addicted lieutenant hanging out with this chunky whore. Some scenes of drugs were actually omitted by Herzog because of his little interest in drug culture. The major change in location from New York, where the screenplay is set, to New Orleans happened because of budget reasons, but also because Herzog wanted it to become a leading character in the film. All in all, the final movie differs, especially in its humorous tone, additional character scenes, and poetic moments from Finkelstein's screenplay. So it's very different from what they originally set out to make. And I think like it must have been dirt cheap to film in New Orleans at that point. They still spent $25 million on this film, but New Orleans versus New York.
Yeah.
New Orleans post-Katrina versus New York. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The film begins and ends with shots of animals swimming in water. Not only that, but Nick Gomez is the first person seen on screen as well as one of the two people seen at the end of the film. It just felt so forced. We'll get into it, but well. This one I could have put somewhere in the breakdown, but I wanted to talk about it here. Herzog on the hallucinatory scenes with the iguanas. The quote, "There is nothing more wondrous than seeing Nicolas Cage and a lizard together in one shot."
What the fuck does that even mean?
Oh, God.
What the fuck does that even
Nicolas
mean?
Cage and a lizard. My dreams have come true. And I think we are going to go... and I think we're going to go long, and the producers are going to make me lose my iguanas. And if they make me lose my iguanas, I feel like I can't be a filmmaker anymore.
Yeah.
They're the worst shots in the whole
I know.
film.
I really felt like this is Werner Herzog wanted to have I
want to test my GoPro. Let's see what happens.
It was like fourth wall breaking. Like even when the iguana like attacks the camera when he puts it up in its fucking
Bearded
face.
dragon.
Oh yeah, the bearded dragon.
Yeah.
It's okay. I get he does nature documentaries, but I don't know why this movie has two scenes where it devolves into nature documentaries.
Yeah, there's the weird alligator shot that goes on for way too long, and it's like right up on its eyeball, and then the frickin' I think it's a 2-minute straight scene of close-ups on iguanas with a wide-angle lens. That like I have seen so many things online while researching this film of people being like, those are my favorite moments in the film. And I'm like, why?
Well,
I guess
when
because
you look
they're
at
the
their-
only memorable thing out of the film.
Yeah. Also, when you look at their geo info, they're based out of Florida, so makes sense.